Hello. I wanted to talk about the importance of a website as an artist. I mean, I have a hard time considering myself to be one, considering I look at myself as one still trying to gain the important fundamental drawing skills before I go on to other things like oil painting, which is something that I really want to get into one day. But the I think having your own website is important, as annoying as it is. And the thing about that is, it could just be as simple as your name. It doesn't have to be complex, but it could just be, sorry, it could just be your name and a .com or whatever other thing you want to make it. It could even be a blog on like a WordPress website or like, like a free one on Wix. I think having a point where people can go to find you and something that you control to be a very important thing to have. Like something that like people will remember to go to in the event they can't discover you. Now, I really do like YouTube, and I have to say, I think when it comes to making instructional content, video is the top when it comes to it because, well, the instruction, it always seems like I'm able to convey instructions a lot more clearly rather than having to write a whole big massive blog post and chop it up into individual images. And the website that I have set up is very easy for me to maintain, so that's another plus. Now, I am a bit of a web developer and I have that in-depth knowledge. I've worked on a wide variety of applications, everything from massive e-commerce websites to other type like websites that receive a massive amount of traffic. I have some experience with scaling websites, which is absolutely nuts in my opinion, because I never thought I would run into something that would require scaling, but actually I ran into two websites that required that. And the thing is, many websites really overdo it. So if you look closely at my URL, you'll see it says index.html. And the thing about that is I just use simple HTML, CSS files, and a little JavaScript to make my website. And I really like it that way. And the reason why I like it that way is because I like to think of the web as a bunch of connected a bunch of connected things, and I think as simple, or like the simpler the better. And like when it comes to a lot of HTML stuff that was written, I can't remember the specific version. I don't know. It was like some standard, but in short, if it works now, it'll work tomorrow. But sometimes if you host your stuff on like another thing, like WordPress, for example, it stores all of your content in a database. So like the problem with that is that eventually that database, like the whole WordPress stack, is a little bit of a nightmare from a maintenance standpoint because it requires a lot of updating. It's more of like a platform, and I find it very, very overkill compared to just having simpler HTML files. Well, to be honest, my process is a little bit more complex. I kind of made, like, this is going to be weird. If you're not a web developer, don't worry about it. I'm not saying you have to do what I do. There's static site generators, like, is it Bearclaw? What appeared in my search history? I'm always worrying. I mean, I just don't want my banking information to appear. Okay, so there are other things like static site generators and whatnot, and I think they do good. You could look at them. There's like Bearclaw and I think Jekyll site generator. They're like smaller site generators, and the whole point of it is to make it as simple to maintain as possible. And some of these get a bit difficult because you kind of have to know a little bit about configuration, working in like a terminal or command line or something like that. But I feel like if you want to choose something, I would highly recommend just simple HTML files because of the sheer simplicity of it. I think it could also teach you a little bit how the web works, which I think it is important to have just a little bit of an understanding of that. And the other thing is this is an area that I can control. So I like YouTube, and I'm always going to be using YouTube. I mean, I've always liked YouTube just for the way I could share videos and, And the thing about that is I know not all of my videos will be popular. People say the algorithm, that's the people. I think it's kind of hard to excuse the algorithm because obviously it's just if people like it or not, but I always do worry if my subscribers may not see my video. But who knows? Maybe they just don't like it. Totally up to them. But to have my website as a point where people could find me or always know where to go to, I think that's something that, like, YouTube really lacks. Like, yeah, you can get really good concurrent stuff from YouTube, but I feel like a website is just something you have to do. And my website is something that, like, I always try to maintain. I always try to add a little something to it, even though it has been a little bit of time, because I've been really dedicating all of my time to making YouTube videos. But I think a website is extremely important. I mean, there are other, like, I think ArtStation is a website where you can do that stuff. If you're trying to get known, highly recommend that. But, yeah, I think having your own website, learning how to configure a domain name, having that place that really no one could take it from you is important. Because, even if you use Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or something else like that, I feel like all of those places, your content lives, it has a much shorter lifespan, and to get the word out about you, just to get people who are aware of you to see, like, a message put in front of them, you have to always be making some new type of post or something like that. But I think YouTube's different because, like, I'm more interested in sharing something that could help people, if that kind of makes sense. Because I think, like, all of the other social media, like Twitter, Instagram, and whatnot, you're just kind of, like, trying to share information so everyone either goes to your website or YouTube. But it all has to do with, like, information creation. Like, the other thing is, could I host videos on my own website? Yeah, but I would have to pay for hosting and all of that. So a big benefit of YouTube is the fact that I have all that place to put my videos. I do make archival things of my videos on an external hard drive just for my own sake, but I think the important thing with that is to know that, yeah, YouTube shows ads on my videos sometimes, and I don't make anything from that. Does hurt me financially, but it's definitely worth it, and I do like YouTube. So yeah, please definitely do think about making your own website because, and I'll tell you this, I used to use Reddit, but I think I may have gotten, like, shadow banned on Reddit. I don't know why. Possibly I shared an article with someone to my website, and possibly I got flagged for that. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the reason, because for a while there I was posting all types of articles, and after a while I feel like even when I would reply to people normally through Reddit, they wouldn't receive my message, and it was just, or, like, if they would receive it, it would be weeks later, and I eventually just, like, I couldn't take it anymore. It was too stressful, and, like, I tried asking administrators on certain boards, and they were like, we can't tell you that, and I'm like, but how do I know? I mean, so I gave up on Reddit, and to be honest, Reddit's not doing too good these days. Right now it's June 30th, 2023, so, and I think Reddit, I hate to say it, I think it could have been a good website, but it became, I understand, like, they don't want people spamming, I completely understand that, but I don't believe I was, and now I can't even know if I was or not, so, I did have some good experiences on Reddit with certain administrators telling me, like, they like what I do, but I can't reference my website, even though, like, it has stuff that I thought would help people because they're an article, but hey, that's just the rules. So I pretty much stopped Reddit. And I think the important thing to know about that is if you have a Reddit blog or something like that, or a board, I don't know what they call it, there's a name for it, but, like, you don't own that, or Reddit owns that. So you may be building it, but there's a good chance that Reddit can take it from you. But, like, your own website, you can post content on there, and you're not going to have some entity saying you can't post that or you can't. I mean, you know, as long as like you're not harassing people or anything like that, just do what makes sense, and don't do what doesn't. You know. So yeah, I hope you do make a website, and like try to own a piece of it, and having your own domain name. You know, learning about that whole process, I believe, could be really important. And you know, granted, I probably spend about, I think it's like $18.99 a year. It is a lot. I've always kind of like debated that cost. I think it could be cheaper if you don't pay for privacy, but I do pay for privacy. I think it's maybe like $9 more. Maybe it's like, yeah, I think it's $9 more, and I just do that so I don't get like spammed in my physical mailbox. But funny enough, I still do. So I always debated the usefulness of that. Um, but you know, so yeah, definitely do think about making your own website and learning about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Or if you can pay someone to make you a simple website, I do highly recommend that. And you may want to avoid overkill things like WordPress, because you really have to think about it. Like, do you really need it? Do you really need the extra maintenance? Or like, could you get away with a simple website using HTML that like it'll still work tomorrow? And you know, like all these other things, there's a good chance that it may be deprecated and it won't work in newer browsers, and then it'll be like, well, that was, I have to redo my whole website again, or like I can't even access my old website. So yeah, it's kind of like that. And yeah, so give it a chance if you want to. I guess maybe the one other big thing that I would want to say is, if you do want to make your own website, think about the directory structure, because the way you store stuff kind of gets a bit, it can get a bit convoluted with how you store site maps and stuff. And like, I don't want to go down all those details. I could talk for hours about all of that design, but like I said, simple website that you control. Another thing, if you are a programmer, but like I said, GitHub, always back up your code in multiple places. You can store your code in GitHub, but I would also, you know, they also have GitHub pages, which I think is pretty cool. But don't just store it in GitHub, store it on an external hard drive, a couple computers that you have. It's always good to have multiple copies of what you make, just in the event something goes wrong, because, you know, more often than not, when it's someone else's computer, it's not your computer, and you may not have as much control as you want to. So just keep that in mind. And I hope that kind of helps you think about why I keep my website, even though I don't update it all the time, but I would like to update it more often. But like I said, since I'm focusing everything on YouTube, I do that. But the other benefit of a website that I wanted to mention is, if you want to share like downloadable files or even apps, like originally I hosted my apps on my website for people to download. I moved them to my Gumroad because the big issue was, whenever I would update my website, it would take a little bit of time to do it, and that's because of the file sizes of my applications, and I compile them for Windows, x64, and IA32 for Windows, one for Mac, I think it's for Darwin, and one for Linux, Ubuntu, and so basically it's like having 4, 4, 4, and 4. So I want to say I think I did get, no, I didn't get any complaints from hosting that massive file size. It was a lot. It was just a long time for it to all transfer through, and I thought it would be better for me to have it on my Gumroad. So in the event if people wanted to leave like a review or a rating or something, I wanted to allow them to do that. I also like the way Gumroad has like that download thing. I won't lie, I think Gumroad also does get emails, so that does help me. Whenever someone, you know, it does let me know that someone is downloading it, and I find that interesting. I mean, don't worry, I don't, you know, that's just all. I mean, I would rather have people subscribe to my mailing list, which you could always find here. The other thing about a website that I wanted to tell you is, definitely make a MailChimp. It's free until you have a massive amount of people. I think it does help. Highly recommend it. And the cool thing about that is that I could just put that on my website. You know, to have that level of control for it all is really, it feels really good. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. If you have a question, please ask it in the comments, and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. Um, Programming, I'm not like taking on any web projects. I'm very exhausted these days with it. Uh, I mean, I maintain my applications, and they're really good applications in my opinion. I don't know. I'm very proud of them, and I think they could help artists a lot, and I use it in almost all my videos. But what I'm trying to get about that is that the large amount of control a website can give you if you learn about it and you know what you're doing, and you can add your own artistic flair to it. Like you know, this whole website, white text, black background. I did that because I work on a computer so much, and I feel like this is the only type of text that doesn't make my eyes bleed. You know, I mean, not that my eyes bleed, but just that I just find it more calmer on my eyes. So yeah, thanks for listening in this video. I think I already said it, but leave a comment if you want. If you like the video, please like it. If you're interested in my channel, please subscribe. But thanks for listening. Bye.